Okay, so I'm gonna have this first part of the program tonight. So welcome everybody. And I want to do is share my screen because what I'm going to do is actually take you through some announcements, and then I'm going to jump into just one or two current events that are pertinent to us. There's so much that's going on, so much, and it's currently very amazing that we are as blasé about the time in which we live as we are. We need to be really aware and astute of what's going on because things are happening really rather quickly. So I add my welcome to Lacanda's, and I pray that we'll have a blessed time together. So, first thing I want to announce is that we are now doing a once a month prophecy update. So, what do I mean by a prophecy update? We are looking at current events are happening over that past month and analyzing them through the lens of prophecy. So, tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be on Zoom, we'll be on our YouTube channel, and we'll be live at our church, and we'll be having a discussion. There's a group who meet together and we just discuss videos and articles that are clearly pointing to the imminent return of Jesus Christ. So we've got our next one, which is tomorrow, and we always have it on the first Sunday of the month at around 5 p.m. in the evening. Sometimes we change that time, but it's going to be roughly 5 p.m. each month. So look forward to you joining us then tomorrow. If you need information, it's on our website. So we also have a Thursday Great Controversy booklet. Now, the Great Controversy is a book that is phenomenal, written by Ellen G. White, and it outlines history from the fall of Jerusalem all the way to the end of the millennium and the total eradication of sin. And in between there, you have the second coming, you have the tribulation and all that. And so currently we're on chapter 39, and we started it last week. We got halfway through the chapter because there's so much information. It was a phenomenal discussion. So I invite you to join us once again this coming Thursday. It's at 6 p.m. and we do it Zoom, live, and in person at the church. So it's for each Thursday, 6 p.m. and we are going all the way through the Great Controversy. So we actually started on chapter 22, and we're doing the second half of the book first. And then once we get to the end, then we'll go back to the beginning and do the first half of the book. But so far, it's incredible. And this chapter 39, about the time of trouble, incredible information, incredible. So it's a long chapter in and of itself, and there's so much information packed into there. So really pertinent, great information. I invite you to join us. Once again, more details are on the website. Then each Saturday morning, we go through the book of Daniel. We're making our way through it steadily, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, phrase by phrase, analyzing it, processing it, fully understanding it, and drawing out lessons for our lives today. Daniel is one of those prophets that speak a lot about the end times, really pertinent to the time in which we live. In fact, the book was shut up until this time. We didn't really fully understand it until the time of the end. Now that we're in that time, it's just coming to light. So phenomenal discussion and debates and learning. And that's each Saturday morning, 9:30. And we are only doing that live on YouTube and in person at church. There's no Zoom for that one. And currently we are on Daniel chapter 8, verse 8, I believe it is. Verse 8. So, but just if you redo all of Daniel chapter 8, you'll be there. But I think we're going to be doing 8 to about 12 or 13. So the next coming Saturday. And previous recordings are on our YouTube channel. Then want to point out that there is a camp meeting in the Bahamas, April 2nd to 6th. And our friend Lukanda is going to be there. Lukanda, do you want to say anything about this camp meeting? I know you're going to be going through these announcements at the end. Do you want to say anything quickly about this camp meeting, which you'll be attending at Mangrove Cave? And it's put on by the Ingrams, Kevin and Chidima, and there'll be John Dossett, and there'll be Artwell, and they'll be going through things like medical missionary work, Bible studies, car repair, gardening, and lots of skills which are pertinent for anybody running an outpost in the last days. So that's April 2nd to 6th in the Bahamas in Mangrove Cave. And now, if you want to register, information isn't on our website, but you can call Kevin, and the number's at the bottom of the screen. So just jot down that number, and you can call Kevin, and he'll get you registered. Then I'll be going to London in May, and I'll be there 3 weekends. I'm going to be in Northampton. The details aren't quite finished for Northampton, but then I'll be going to London. I'll be doing an end time preparation conference in London, the 15th to the 17th of May, and it'll be packed with information. So if you happen to be in London or in England, do choose to come and attend that event. And this is free. And then the weekend after, I'm be in Scotland. I'm going to do a camp meeting in Scotland. Lots of great speakers, lots of great information. And that'll be the 21st to the 25th of May. And in fact, this camp meeting is already sold out. It's really sold out. And they're looking on extending it and so forth, because they're having so many inquiries. So many people want to come to this camp meeting, but it's already sold out. But do try to get on board. There's a WhatsApp number, just add a +44 in front of that WhatsApp number, or email endtimelivinuk2025@gmail.com. So it's +44 07851 306 516 to get information, to find out, or to add your name to the wait list or whatever, or to find out information about the extension of this camp meeting. But I'll be there 21st to 25th. And then the first weekend in May, maybe 8th or something like that, I'll be in Northampton. We're just finalizing the details for that one. Once that information is finalized, we'll be promoting it on our website. Then there's the magazine that we do once a month. These are some issue covers, and December, January, February. February is the latest one. We're currently working on the March issue, which should be out soon. And this magazine focuses on aspects of life that God's remnant people will need, whether it's educating your children, improving your marriage, medical missionary, life skills, faith topic, current events. We pack loads and loads of information into it. Lots of stuff on gardening, and it's an electronic magazine, so you can just flick through it. You can download the PDF. It's over 100 pages, something like 150 pages each issue. So there's lots and lots of great articles which are relevant for people who are interested in being ready for the last days. So the latest one was about animal husbandry, and we've been looking at how to raise cows and goats and stuff, and as well as other topics as well. So we're inviting you to join our mailing list. If you join the mailing list for this, then you'll get the issues emailed to you automatically. If you want to do that, just shoot me an email at pastorroberthines@gmail.com. This is the website for all our events. And now we're going to get into some current events. So please remember, I only got a short amount of time here, so I'm only going to look at maybe one or two current events. Tomorrow evening, we'll have an hour and a half to go through lots of events. So this is just going to be a little taster of some of the things that have happened in February so far. So first of all, we had the State of the Union. So for those of you who are living outside of the United States, once a year, the president gives his long speech to the joint houses, and he talks about how our nation is doing, how the union is strong, whatever. And this one was a particularly long State of the Union. I think it was the longest one ever, over 2 hours. And he says some interesting things, lots and lots of stuff about the economy and so forth, which for us isn't too relevant, but they did mention religion. And I'm just going to play some clips of it.
I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. The golden age of America is upon us, and our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
So if you were aware of that, he was talking about the State of the Union, and he highlighted certain things, and what it was highlighting was what his government had been doing to bring back religion. And it's very, very scary what he's saying about how he's bringing it back stronger. And what he's actually doing is he is breaking down the separation of church and state. The church is getting heavily involved in religion, and religion is having a greater impact on the state and what it's doing, what they're doing. So very, very concerning. I find it very interesting indeed that he would be talking like this.
I'm very proud to say that during my time.
So this is what we're talking about: church and state, and when church and state comes together, it's a dangerous combination. Please remember, during the Dark Ages, you had the church manipulating the state, and the church using the states and the civil authorities to punish people that they deemed unworthy. And that is going to eventually impact us as Seventh-day Adventists. So for many years, there's been a separation of church and state, but now under these Christian nationalists, which dominate his government, they're coming back together. And please remember, the Sunday law starts first in the United States and it spreads to the world. So we are actively seeing people talking about the Sunday law, and the breaking down of the separation between church and state. Now, when that happens, we will start to experience persecution. And one of the ways in which we're going to start to experience persecution is a loss of rights. So I'm going to play you a clip from this guy called Joel Webon, and he has some criteria for people who can vote. If he was running the United States, these are the people who could vote. First of all, they have to be Christian. The second thing is they have to be a male adult. Third, they have to be married. Fourth, they have to be third generation American. And five, a net positive taxpayer. So these are his 5 criteria for you to vote. So if you weren't paying taxes, you couldn't. If you're a woman, you couldn't vote. If you're single, you couldn't vote. If you were just immigrated to the country, you couldn't vote. If you're a Christian, well, let's hear what he says about Christianity. And it's just listen to this. This is going to amaze you. This is how people are thinking. Let me just play this clip for you.
Here's 5 criteria for voting. Number 1, America should be a Christian nation. I'm a Christian nationalist. And so, yes, I would require a public profession of faith that you're a Christian in order to vote. So my first requirement before getting into anything else is faith. It's religion. You should be a Christian. Well, what kind of Christian, Joel? A creedal, historic creed Christian. You should have to publicly affirm the Nicene Creed, the Apostles' Creed. Well, what about Catholics? Could they vote? Yes. Well, what about Eastern Orthodox? Yes. Well, what about Baptists and Anglicans and Episcopalians and Presbyterians? Yes. What about Mormons? No. It's a cult. No, they don't believe that Jesus is the creator. They believe that he is the first created. They believe he's the first created, but not creator. They're non-Trinitarian. No, of course, they can't vote. They're not Christian. Jehovah's Witness, what about them? Nope, they're not Christian. Seventh-day Adventists, nope, they're not Christian. It is a cult. Okay, but what about Muslims? No way. What about Jews? No way. Hindus? No way. Atheists? No way. Well, what about white European descendants who worship Thor? No way. Christian, that's first.
Okay. So did you hear that? In order to vote, in his thinking, you have to be a Christian in order to vote. Third generation American is going to get into, but you have to be Christian. And he calls Seventh-day Adventists a cult. After all the compromising that some church leaders did, they still class Seventh-day Adventists as a cult. We shouldn't compromise one iota. We should be solid to our faith. If they call us a cult, so be it. Okay? We cannot compromise, and we should return to primitive godliness. And we cannot be friends. We cannot love the world and love God. It's either we hate the world and love God, or we end up loving the world and hating God. We cannot serve both God and Mammon. This idea, trying to be friends with the world, isn't working. We need to say, we are different from you. We are separate from you. We are peculiar. We are God's people. And embrace that, embrace our difference, and stop trying to not be weird, not being different or stand out. This is who we are. Now, this type of thinking leads to more and more persecution. Now, we are told that history repeats itself. Now, if history repeats itself, we can look back in history and find examples of this type of thinking. One that wasn't too far away was during Nazi Germany. And the Jews were slowly stripped of their rights and end up being persecuted and eventually sent to the gas chambers. and there. Please remember the Jews were a group of people who Joel Webon says he would not allow to vote. Okay? And we know how they treated the Jews in the past. So you can see that persecution is coming. The mentality of the nation has changed. America as a whole is becoming to talk like the beast in direct fulfillment of prophecy. And so, as God people, we see these things happening. We see the president just glorying in making America more religious, bringing back religion and making it strong. We know what type of religion. Remember, the Supreme Court is mostly Catholic, and he's got members on his party who are members in his government who are so extreme in their thinking, and their identity is Catholicism. So this is why it says this: there are those who are feeling deeply in regard to the fast approaching crisis. It will not be long before the gathering storm will burst upon the world that is so asleep in sin. And of all the world, the people I'm most concerned about are Seventh-day Adventists. This is the time of the midnight cry. This is the time when the message should be given to Adventists, warning them and alerting them and saying, wake up, the bridegroom cometh. We know not everybody's going to respond, but we do not want to be idle and not invite these people, not encourage these people. And this is one of the reasons why we do the prophecy update. It's mostly for Adventists who are not getting ready, to show them that we are living in the last days and things are going to wrap up really, really quickly. So, I believe that's all I wanted to share with you today, those two current events. If you want more current events, please join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock when we go through the prophecy update for February. Well, thank you. I'm going to hand this back over to Lukanda.
All right, thank you much, Pastor Hines. You've heard some updates, and so we thank God for that today. I'm going to go quickly into reminding us. I always tell people I don't know much, and I'm just reminding you of the things that you already know. And as Pastor Hines just said, when we do the testimony editions of the Country Living Update, it's for those persons who made the move, who have just begun or in it for a while. They are sharing their experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, the why, and what obstacles they may face and the joys that they have. And I love those. I like those a lot. And then sometimes we just want to highlight some things to let you know that this is a practical event. This is a practical move. And these are things that you need to be preparing for mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, financially, socially, in every way. This has to be at the front of your brain. Okay, and so I'm just going to share with you some things that I've compiled over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just a growth in not knowing everything, but just a growth in faith, and that God wants us to be able to help ourselves and help others around us as we go into this time of a lot of upheaval. A lot of things are going to be shaken, and we need to be sure in Christ and faith, and then also have some things to back that up on our property wherever we are. I'm just going to read to you 2 or 3 quotes from Sister White here, and this is from a little small compilation that was put together, statements that she wrote in regards to the place of herbs in rational therapy. And she shares with us in this little small message, it says this: in regard to the matter of prayer for the sick, many confusing ideas are advanced. One says, he who has been prayed for must walk out in faith, giving God the glory and making use of no remedies. If he is at a health institute, he should leave it at once. I know that these ideas are wrong and that if accepted, they would lead to many evils. Also, it says, on the other hand, I do not wish to say anything that might be interpreted to mean a lack of belief in the efficacy of prayer. The path of faith lies close beside the path of presumption. I'll repeat that. The path of faith lies close beside the path of presumption. Goes on to say, it is no denial of faith to use rational remedies judiciously. Water, air, sunshine, these are God's healing agencies. The use of certain herbs that the Lord has made to grow for the good of man is in harmony with the exercise of faith. Manuscripts, and we have this from 31, written in 1911. We're going to see what God has shown us just from around our garden. And so I'll take this time just to share, and then you can add any questions or answers or give any opinions or advice at the end that is in line with the topic that we're dealing with, which is a place for herbal remedies during going up to and at the time of no buy, no sell, because you're not just going to end up in that situation and have everything around you and you didn't prepare. It doesn't work that way. And so in a garden, around your home, these things should be growing near to your home. The larger gardens or the trees, they're going to be grown a little bit further from the home, but right in walking distance, in a few feet from the home, from your door, are going to be flowers, are going to be herbs that are good for using as remedies and also cooking, culinary herbs as well. And some of those herbs, they actually double. They can be herbal medicine for internal use, or they can be for cooking and also external use. So in a herb garden, you should have things like rosemary, mint, spearmint and peppermint, thyme, oregano. So some people say oregano, ginger, turmeric, definitely aloe. If you can get it to grow where you are outside. If not, you can put it in your greenhouse. Clover, lemon balm, lemongrass, just to name a few. These are some of the main ones that can deal with gastrointestinal issues, especially inflammation and pain and insect bites, coughs, colds, congestion. These are some of the basic herbs that you need to have right at hand. And the list can go on and on and on, but just the basic ones you want to have. And I'm sure you can put in the chat some basic ones that you know about as well. But we want to make sure that when we have our home in the country, or as we're transitioning out, we want to start to learn how to work with these herbs. You can go online, download some apps. You could also invest in some books that you can get to learn how to use herbs. I'm going to start with some basic things about teas, infusions, and decoctions. Let's just start with the basic on an infusion. Infusion is basically having herbs that are infused into water or some other type of liquid. So for a tea that you're using for medicinal purposes, you want to make sure you have those things right around you. This is what I personally like to do with my herbs, because in the Bahamas, we have what we call bush tea. There are plants that grow around you as trees, the leaves and the stems, and then smaller plants, the flowers and other parts, even roots sometimes, they are good for medicine. And you need to know what they are good for. You want to know the indications and the contraindications, when to use them, when not to use them, and how much and dosage. But this point that I'm making is on how to make a tea. In the Bahamas, so many persons, they say, okay, they put the water in the pot, put the herbs in the pot, and boil it to death. I have an in-law. Sometimes I go there and they're making tea. And I sometimes turn to my wife and say, are they boiling meat? Because they're boiling the tea leaves for so long. So this is some basic principles that you may know already. Okay, this is mint. Mint is an awesome one to have for gastrointestinal issues, for just cooling you off. You can take mint leaves and you can infuse it. So the idea is this: leaves and flowers and aerial parts that are not so thick and hard, you're going to steep them. This means that you're using water, filtered water, clean water, not tap water, not city water, and you're putting that into a pot, however much you're going to be using. It's a teaspoon of herbs to 8 ounces of water. So let's say you're going to do 4 cups or 32 ounces of tea. You're going to need to just put a little bit, because in the boiling process, it's going to steam away a little bit. And you're going to put 4 teaspoons into your 4 cups of water, your 32 ounces of water. For leaves, aerial parts, and the flowers, you're going to put now the water to boil. And as soon as it gets to a rolling boil, you're going to turn the heat off under that water. Then you're going to put in your leaves. I'll stop and make a point right here while we're on leaves. This is what I do. I dry my leaves for 4, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, depending on the time of year, depending on how I do it. So this is strongback. This grows on a tree with some orange berries for those Bahamians, strongback. And so what I do is I collect my leaves from a clean area. You know, if you're dealing with low herbs, you don't want to get them from the side of the street. You don't want to get them from areas that people traverse, and especially animals. You know, let's think about it. You're getting your herbs from a place and there's dogs that just go, and fumes from cars and pollution and dust and drive dust and all this type stuff. So you want to get it from a clean area that is suitable. And what I do is I get an old onion bag, right? A bag that has holes, that is clean, and I just stuff them in here. Now, sometimes I just go wild and I get a whole 50-pound peanut bag. If I'm using it for friends or I just want to do a stockpile of it, I put it in there and hang it out in the house or on the porch, right? And I just let that dry out of the sun. You don't want direct sunlight. You just want air to flow between the leaves in the bag as much as possible. And when they start to develop a nice crunch and they get dried out, you can go ahead and take them and store them in a jar and cover them and put this in a dark place. Now, if you have bags that are dark or bottles that are dark, then great, you can store them that way. Think about a raisin. You know, when you take a grape is sweet, usually, but if you dehydrate or dry out that grape, the raisin is much sweeter than the grape, okay? The sweetness is concentrated, the sugars are concentrated, so you can take that same principle with the leaf. There are some phenols and different substances inside, compounds inside leaves that are meant to protect them. You see what I'm saying? And when you just take the leaf and you go ahead and just wash it and boil it, sometimes this can upset the stomach, all right? And when you use the dried leaves, you get such a beautiful end product, and it draws much better, and it tastes way better as well in my experience. You don't have that bitter aftertaste from the fresh leaves versus the nice smooth taste of those teas that you use to make your tea. So that's an infusion where you make a tea. Now, when you get on to roots and bark of the plant, I wonder if we can see this. This is Pau d'Arco. And Pau d'Arco, I'm going to put it up to the camera here if I could. You see Pau d'Arco? Lepaco. This is the bark, inner bark of a plant. And then you have things like ginger root and turmeric root and different type of root that you can use. White willow bark, they're firmer, they're harder. You're going to now treat these differently than you would teas. And as I'm saying this, you see this takes intention and it takes time. It's not just something you're going to jump up and do. So the Pau d'Arco is not a native here. So what you're going to do is you have barks and you have roots. You're going to bring the water to a rolling boil, and then it gets to a rolling boil, but you're going to add now the bark or the root or both, okay? And so now you're going to have those boiling at that rolling boil for 20 minutes. Then you cut off the heat, move it from the heat, and then you let it steep for 5 to 10 minutes after that. And then you can strain it and you can jar it. Then you can let it cool and put it in the refrigerator if you're going to use it later. And you can make those for 2-day batches. 3 is a bit stretching it. I would do 2 days if you're a person who's busy and you need to be able to do that. You're going to go with 4 to 8 ounces per day, okay? If a person just using it for cleansing, but if you're really trying to fight some type of really tough situation, you can do up to 32 ounces per day. That's 4 cups during the day, all right? Do not add sugar to your teas. Do not add them for any reason. Do not add honey. If you want something to break the taste, you can use some fresh lemon, not bottled lemon juice, but fresh lemon juice. And you can drink it cool or hot. It's up to you. I would advise room temperature for people who are taking it all day. So we're going to move into some things that are internal and external using the same principles of infusion. So infusion, you're going to learn now or hear about now about tinctures. Tinctures are basically concentrated infusions. You're taking herbs and you're soaking them for a period of time so that all the constituents of the herbs that is in there is going to fuse out into the liquid. So the first thing you have to do is know, what are you trying to do? Inflammation or pain is one of the main ones that I'm coming into these days. These pains can be debilitating in a flight type of situation or in a situation where you can't buy over-the-counter drugs. There's another quote inside this booklet talking about over-the-counter drugs and drugs as a whole. First of all, they're not good. They're poison. If they're not for some type of immediate emergency situation, like a gunshot or you're going into some type of shock or situation, let's try to avoid them. Matter of fact, I think, okay, I'm going to read it. It's very short. Every family is to use herbs. There are simple herbs and roots that every family may use for themselves and need not call in a physician any sooner than they would call a lawyer. All right, this is letter 17A from 1893. So no sooner you're going to call a lawyer, a physician, that you would call a lawyer. You need to know these things. You need to know thyself to heal thyself. God is going to speak clearer and clearer to you as you move through these remedies and situations by faith. That's one of the main things you need to know in this country living endeavor as you go, to know the voice of God for yourself. That is paramount priority. What to use, what not to use. There's a lot of information out there. Sometimes it can be contradictory or conflicting, but pray and ask God how to move forward. So a tincture is, I'm going to run through this quickly. So let's say you're doing something simple for inflammation. You know, you can use, okay, I'm going to use this simple remedy here. This is filtered water. It's something that you're definitely going to have. You're going to have your jar. You're going to have your herbs, and you're going to have something you can use. What I use right now until I learn better is glycerin. And this is a store-bought glycerin. This is a vegetable glycerin. And this is extremely sweet. One dab on the tongue, it blows your tongue out. It's very sweet. This is a vegetable glycerin. It's kind of costly. And I'm going to show you what you do with that when you're making a glycerite or a tincture of sorts. You can use this for sleep, hypertension, pain, inflammation. You can use it as an antiviral tincture. You can use it as a parasite cleanse as well. You put a flu balm inside there, a herbal flu balm you can put inside there. Oh, I almost forgot. You're going to need yourself an amber jar, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, okay, with the dropper top. Okay, you're going to need that for sure. Invest in jars that are dark and that have caps and covers that are not too big and cumbersome. This one, you can use this one, but for capsules. Pastor Hines, I know I'm going to run out of time, so I'll just unload my little box here. These are capsules. So a good thing to do is start to learn how to have your own little pharmacy going on between the herbs. And then because you want to prepare some things that you might want to take with you, it's good to go and invest in some vegetarian empty capsules. Okay, these are vegetarian, 100% plant-based, And this is a size 1, and this is a size 0, okay? Depending on who you're dealing with, because if you like some in my family, they cannot take mouthfeel and bitterness and bad taste. So you want to have a separate container. So a glycerite is basically a concentrated infusion of herbs inside a suspension. So let's say you're doing one for anti-inflammatory. Great is turmeric. This is a turmeric powder that we just bought from the store. This is much cheaper than the one that costs $25 for less than a pound. So this is an organic one. And so you can use this, which is ground turmeric in there for anti-inflammatory. And also you can use the Pau d'Arco, which is anti-inflammatory and used for pain. Also used for certain types of cancer and to help with the inflammation involved in enlarged prostate. Okay, so you're going to take your herbs. You have this powder you're going to put inside there. You have your, and you could also use a turmeric root if you're not going to use the powder. You have your Pau d'Arco, and then you have, let me see what I have here. Oh, ginger root. So the 3 that we're going to use for the anti-inflammatory tincture is Pau d'Arco, ginger root, turmeric. You could go ahead and use equal parts, but for the sake of just time, you could go ahead and get the ginger root, which they have dehydrated, and you could take a cup of that, put this inside your jar. Nothing else is inside your clean jar. You sterilize your jar and everything else. Then you can add your turmeric. You're not going to go overboard with the turmeric. You're going to put probably a teaspoon, of the turmeric, or 2 teaspoons of the turmeric, and then you can do the equal amount to the ginger with the Pau d'Arco. And once you put your herbs inside the jar, you get them nice and comfortable in there. What you're going to do is you're now going to mix your solution. So this is a 32-ounce jar. I usually do it in my 64-ounce jar, which is holding up my phone right now. So what you do is you're not going to just pour, but you could just pour the glycerin inside on top of the herbs. But what I like to do is I like to measure out enough of the liquid to totally and completely cover the herbs. When you make the tincture, you cannot allow any of the herbs to stick up inside the bottle. Although it has a cap, it's going to mold on you. It's going to destroy your batch. So this is a 8-ounce bottle. I'm going to do the 4 ounces to about 3 cups. All right, 4 ounces to 3 cups. 3 cups, that's 24 ounces to 4 ounces of glycerin. If you want it less sweet, you add less, but more, but you want enough glycerin, so I would not go below 4 cups, depending on what size. And with these, it doesn't make sense making small batches if you have a family. Make this thing in this type of batch if you're doing it for a group, go 64 ounces or more, because you got to think about how long you're going to be using it for. So you put it in there. This is going to turn cloudy, and you mix it until the glycerin and the water comes completely clear. And then you pour it over your herbs inside the jar. Make sure that it's completely, you just push it down in there, get all the air bubbles out, and then you can wipe the lid, put a nice metal lid on top, and you're going to date it, say what it is. And the next part of it is you can do one of 2 things. These 2 methods, you got 3 or 4 methods you can use. You can use the 3-day method. When you take your jar, it's closed, you give this about half full. This is your crock pot. All right, this is your crock pot. You're going to do a quick method of putting your jar in a half-filled crock pot and just putting on low heat, not high, low, and you're going to keep that in there for 3 days. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap your jar or jars, because you could do 2 to 3 of these depending on the size of your crock pot, and just wrap them and you secure them in there so it doesn't clank on each other, and you put that in there covered, and then you just leave it. Each day you come back and you invert. Okay, you just stir or turn it without opening it up. Stir or turn it just a couple of times, 2 or 3 times is enough. And then you put it back inside there, check your water levels, make sure your water levels are staying at least halfway up the jar. That is going to help with the infusion of the herbs into the warm water over a short period of time, so you don't kill it with boiling it. You can also take that and put that in a sunny window for a couple of weeks. The longer, the stronger. The stronger the mixture, the longer you let it steep, then you're going to strain it. And these usually comes with a very small funnel, and you just funnel it, label it on the jar, say what it's for, the date, and you can keep it in the refrigerator or in a dry, cool place. Okay, so that's tinctures for anti-inflammatory. Dosage would be 14 to 28 drops directly into your mouth if you can take it, or I would say mix it in to some room temperature clean tap water and just go ahead and take that, especially in the morning and the evening. I'm going to move on to pain salves because time is going to go. Then I'll just touch on one or two other things. I broke my shoulder about 5 years ago on a biking incident. And someone said, you know what? We have comfrey at the farm. Why don't you do a comfrey poultice? So poultices and salves are wonderful externally used herbal infusion or concoctions that you can make right at home and have them stored or use them fresh. Comfrey is powerful. I don't know if anybody knows about comfrey, but comfrey is like it's the herb. It's the herb. If there's anybody locally that needs it, I have it. You can get it from me. But this is it's an amazing plant. It's called bone knit. I didn't do any x-rays after, but I could tell you in record time, the pain was gone. And all I did was, this is another piece of equipment that you would want to have. You're not going to be running to the hills with these, I don't think, but your mortar and pestle, you're going to have that. And all I did was I mashed it. I beat it. I just beat it. And then I added it to some, sorry for my plastic container. This is our locally crafted, made, expelled castor oil, right from the Bahamas, right from South Andros. This one is store-bought. This is a good brand to use. This is what they use at UG Pines for all the guests as we put poultices on them. And it's just as simple as breaking the leaf, steeping it in the oil, putting it into a pot. I don't have any pots, but if you're just there, as simple as using a clean, thick napkin, doubling it up, and you putting that on there and then applying it to the area, taping it in place with some skin tape or even a piece of cloth if you don't have it. And that every day is going to help to knit the bone. So you can get a little bit more fancy by doing you can put your questions in the chat or comments in the chat. You can get a little bit more fancy. And medical missionaries, guess what? When you go into new territories and you're working full-time for the Lord, you may not have an income coming in. And I can tell you this has saved the day a few times. It's also been a huge blessing to hear people who are complaining about neck pain, bursitis, arthritis, muscle pain, sprains, and strains when they use this mixture that I make, this pain salve. One time I asked my wife, I said, is this lady bathing in this thing? Because she, like every 3-4 weeks, she's buying a jar of this pain salve. How to make a salve, keep it stacked. You're going to need castor oil. You're going to need olive oil. If you remember in the story of the Good Samaritan, he used wine and oil. So you need oils as an emulsifier. It's a part of it. You're going to also need beeswax for your pain salve. Okay? So this is an expensive piece of beeswax. All right? Organic, just pure, just natural beeswax. And you want to have that on hand. We've had that forever. Years. And sometimes they come beaded already. But if you just get the block, you can get those from a craft store, health store. You can order it online. Just make sure it doesn't have a bunch of added stuff, and then you can just grate it. You want to designate your little grater and grate it down, and that's what you're going to use in the end part of your salve. So let me try to go through quickly. Castor oil is anti-inflammatory. It's the deepest penetrating oil. Olive oil, beeswax, of course your herbs, essential oils, and thyme. And of course, a jar. Again, you're going to take your herbs. Pau d'arco you can use ginger root, you can use cayenne, you can use turmeric, you can use comfrey powder or comfrey leaf. You're going to use all these pain herbs. You're going to stuff them into your clean jar, dry, get them in there, and you're going to go halfway. The next half, now you're going to use the oils. So you're going to use well, it depends on how much you're using in a jar, because the 64 ounce is going to call for more. What you're going to use, I'll say about 60 to 70% of olive oil. And then you're going to use another percentage, probably like 15, 20, like 20% of the castor oil. All right, you don't need to put so much of the castor oil. And then you're going to pour that over the herbs until it's halfway, well, until it's completely covered all the way up. You're going to now do the same thing that you did with the tincture. You're going to let it set. The longer and the more herbs you put in it, the stronger. All right. I now do 5 to 6 weeks steeping in the window and inverting it every day. Every day. You can do several jars at a time. Then when you feel like you've done enough, you take it out, you strain the oil completely. Then what you do is in a double boiler, which is as simple as having this metal container, but not with the paint on it, just a metal container. All right. Create a double boiler with a pot. Put water in the pot, put this metal container over the water in the pot and bring it to a boil. Right. Then you can do that now. And what you do is you put your oil in the double boiler in this container on top, no water, it's dry. And you put your oil in there. So you're not on a direct flame. What you're going to do now is add a 1/4 cup for each cup of oil that you have in there. A 1/4 cup of beeswax for every cup of oil that you have inside your boiler. And when you put that in there, nice and hard, you're going to watch it just melt. After it melts, you're going to now take a little metal spoon, all right? And you're going to stick the metal spoon into your oil mixture with the beeswax melted already, and you're going to look to see. And if you're in a hot temperature, you're going to probably have to just put this in the fridge for a minute and see how long it takes to solid up. Or you can do it on a cool countertop and see how long for it to solid up. You just take the time and look at it and see how it feels on the fingertips and then on your skin, because you're going to be applying this to the body. After that point, you're going to add your essential oils. So invest in some essential oils. I use Now brand because it's most available. So wintergreen, myrrh, frankincense, camphor. Yeah, put that in last. Then you're going to get your jar, glass, and you're going to slowly pour those in to the jar. Set them out uncovered in a cool place. They're going to firm up. Then you can cover them, date them, label them, and you can store them in the refrigerator. Because besides the essential oils and maybe, of course, the beeswax, man, you could almost eat this thing. So you should have no problem putting it on your sore body. So that's a pain salve, and you can keep that for a very, very, very long time. And like I said, people are always in pain. They always need it. Should I pause for any questions now or go on to the last set of stuff? Okay. You're moving. You're in the country. We're smack dab in the no buy, no sell. You get a serious toothache, maybe a cavity or boil, not an open abscess. This one I'm going to show you is not for open abscesses in the mouth. Okay, this is for some type of my example. I think I might have poked my gum with a flosser, those floss things, and one night I woke up and my gum was in pain, and I looked in the mirror, flashed my light inside there in our RV, staying there, and I saw it was swollen, it was throbbing with pain. So it was telling me that it's just getting started, but it was painful. So this is what I did. I took, this is, where's my charcoal? Okay, charcoal. All right, sorry, once again, this was just for quick sale. So you don't usually keep your stuff in plastic. Try to keep it in glass with metal or tin covers. Always have a measuring spoon. When working with charcoal, you want to be careful of the kickback. So you're making small batches, and this is what I did. Flax seed, you put dry ingredients in. I'm just going to make a small batch of it. I hope I have some use of it. What he said. And you mix the dry ingredients in. You can use arrowroot, cornstarch, any type of thickening agent. I use the flax seed because it's anti-inflammatory. So it's going to help. Okay, so once you have ground flax, you can put it in with your charcoal, and then you're going to slowly add in some water to the thickness that you want it. You do not want to mix it so loose, because you're going to see why in a minute. So I hope this, okay, good. And you want to gently mix it. All right, gently mix it until it starts to come together. And of course, with the flax in there, it's going to get all eggy. So the idea is you're going to take a napkin and cut it into, I guess this is almost 2 inches of a square. Anyway, an inch square of a nice sturdy napkin, clean napkin, or you can use a thin cloth. And you can add to this, and this is not real cayenne. This is a joke. 90,000 heat units and up for your cayenne when you're using it medicinally. You're going to use some cayenne, charcoal, flax, peppermint oil, and you're going to put that in this mixture. It's already thickening up a little bit. And you're going to put that now in this 1 inch by 1 inch, 1 inch square. And then you're going to put that inside this. And you're going to fold it into a little pouch. Make a bunch of them and put them into a little Ziploc and a bag and keep it in the refrigerator or keep it wherever. Because now you don't want to have to go to the drugstore because, we're in a buy, no sell. So you have these pockets, and what you do is the boil or the pain or the cavity is there. You can slip it between your teeth, bam, and just hold it there. I can give the testimony on this. I put it on the boil. I went back to bed in the morning, which would have been about 3-4 hours till the time I got up. Boom, the boil already went down. The pain stopped. I could go to my morning class with no pain on my gums. And that's all I did. I didn't even get to use the rest of the pockets that I made. That's crazy. That's God's blessings. So you can make these little pockets, store them, and keep them. It's wonderful. The cayenne helps with stopping any bleeding that might be happening, but it also helps as a curative, right? Then you have the peppermint, which is cooling and relaxing. You have the charcoal, which is going to now pull out any infections that may be inside it, which probably it's on its way. And the flax, like I said, is anti-inflammatory. And you just spit it out. If you need another one, you put another one in when the time is right. Okay, so that's charcoal. What about aloe vera gel? You can keep these inside your hoop house, greenhouse. Our son got a 2nd-degree burn very badly on the back of his hand from cooking oil, with cooking oil. And all that was done was, of course, cleaned and dressed daily, right? But all that was put there was aloe vera gel. And that thing healed up, whereas today, in a matter of months, it healed, right? It just couldn't see that it was a burn. You have to look very closely to see it was a 2nd-degree burn. So aloe vera is very good for burns, insect bites. You can apply it directly. And also you can use it for eczema, psoriasis, itching, all of those things, gastrointestinal disturbances. The mint also. So some persons, they just are prone to that. Also ginger tea, you can use those as well. And for the throat problem, for the onset of viral infections out there, you can use these little blankets that you have at home and just cut them into strips. Talking about preparation, so your mindset is not going out to run to the store for every little thing. Okay, you need to be self-sufficient. You need to be prepared. So these are little warm strips of a blanket that we add. We didn't need it anymore. So we just cut it up in strips and made a bunch of these. And then we made a bunch of these and we give them away from time to time. This is sort of like a little fleece or cotton blanket. This one is an old sheet. You can also use a pillowcase or old t-shirt as well. And then this layer is plastic bag, garbage bag, clean, grocery bag, whatever it is. And now you're going to soak the middle one. This middle one is going to be directly applied to the throat. The first onset of a scratchy throat, you're going to use this one. This is your cold compress. You're going to put this onto your neck, right? And then you're going to put the plastic, and then you're going to put the outer layer. The outer layer would be this one right here. And you're going to use a safety pin, and you're going to just pin it to the neck. You're going to, this is what we did. The cotton in the middle, the strip, we would dip it in some ice cold water and use it right away. Or sometimes we would just put them in water and then put them in the freezer for a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, take them out, they're extremely cold, apply it. And then this now would trap in the heat that this is going to create. Your body's going to heat this up, and it's now going to reflect back into the neck, into the muscles of the neck, and into the throat itself. That is the curative. That is what's going to be the heat that your body creates is going to now turn around and help to heal that sore throat as you're taking some oregano oil in water and gargling with that. Oregano oil, 1 to 2 drops in your water, gargling with oregano oil and water. For the little children with gripe or with gastrointestinal problems, dill seed or dill leaf. All right? You know dill weed? Seeds. Okay? It's not just good for making your chickpea salad tasting like seafood or anything. It's actually good and medicinal. Garlic. Air infection, right? That throbbing in the air, that ringing in the air that some people have from time to time. This is a garlic oil. Simple. You get a stainless steel pan, you chop up fresh garlic, chop it, and then you put the oil, olive oil, and the garlic into, you can use a double boiler if you'd like, or you can use a stainless steel pan and just slightly heat it, take it off the fire. I'm not talking about a boil, I'm talking about getting the oil warm and let it steep. And you see how golden that is? All that is that garlic, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial. So ringworms, insect bites, but air infection, you get a clean syringe or a clean dropper, or you could even just use as simple as a toothpick. You put it in there and you get a drop right in the air. You do not want to do this for an extended period of time because there can be oil buildup in the air. You probably are going to have to do an air flush after a regimen of the garlic oil just to clear it out. But you just drop it in there and lean your head on that side for a little bit so it can really get in there. And my wife can testify about that one as well. Psoriasis, eczema, skin abrasions, turmeric oil. All right. Castor oil in a glass jar, 2 tablespoons of turmeric. Let the turmeric settle at the bottom and you use the oil. That reminds me of how you can use slurry water for indigestion. Slurry water for indigestion, upset stomach and other stuff. 2 tablespoons of activated charcoal in this much water. This is like 4 cups. This is 32 ounces. Let it set. The charcoal is going to go down. So it's it's at least 2 tablespoons of charcoal. Let it settle and then drink the water off of the top. Okay? So these are just some things that you can use and put in place for when that time comes and you cannot go to get your over-the-counter drugs. You cannot go to, sometimes you might feel like you need to go to the emergency room, but between faith and prayer and these remedies, you don't have to call the physician nowhere near as quickly as you would think of calling a lawyer. You'd think 2 and 3 times of calling a lawyer. But of course, if you're on fire, please go to the emergency room. All right? Any questions from the little that I shared with you tonight, and I'll end the time.
There are no questions in the chat. There are no questions in the chat. So if somebody has a question, they can just raise their hand or start speaking now. That'd be great. Okay. I think we're good to go. The candle.
Okay, Pastor Hines.
Yeah.
I'm going to read one last quote and then we can close up if there's no questions or comments. All right. Okay. Here we have a quote that I will share with us. It's one of many on the topic of the use of natural remedies, herbal remedies in the home setting. And I think the first quote says plainly that she's not trying to replace faith or prayer, and she's not trying to kick out herbal remedies. But here it is. If you look at it balanced, if someone thinks about the herbs that they're using and the drugs that they're using, the way that they should be going, even now, before we get into the no buy, no sell emergency situation, you want to get yourself off of using drugs. So willy-nilly using painkillers and other things to calm pains. You want to get to the bottom of that pain, that situation now, and be able to live without these things. This is a quote, those who make a practice of taking drugs sin against their intelligence and endanger their whole afterlife. There are herbs that are harmless, the use of which will tide over many apparently serious difficulties. But if all would seek to become intelligent in regard to their bodily necessities, sickness would be rare instead of common. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. This is amazing because it says to us that the mindset that we have to hand over the care of our bodies to the physician is not good. It is not something by default that we should do. I'm sick, I'm going to go to the doctor. And when I say sick, I mean you get a cough, you get a cold, you have a pain. If that pain persists, then you need to take measures now in finding out, why is this pain reoccurring? What am I doing that is could be causing this? And if it's a serious situation, then you need to go and see the physician, Jesus, and he will direct you to the physician that you need to see. So when we are sick, we need to think about the first line. Am I causing this, or am I practicing things that are against God's health laws? Then when you find that you are, pray to God and ask him for intelligence in how to better your situation. Remember that when we practice taking drugs, that's going to be our norm. But when we become intelligent in how to take care of our bodies with the help of natural remedies, when they call for it, you will be better off. So as we go into country living, remember that you're going to be taking care of your family, of yourself, with God's help, and prepare these things and have them available for yourself, your family, and your neighbors, and even strangers.
Yeah, and I'd just like to also testify about that. My wife always takes probiotics and on a regular basis every single day. But last week, at our gardening class, we learned about how to make sauerkraut, which has natural probiotics in it. And so we're transitioning now from the probiotics from the store to sauerkraut. We've got those crop pots and some fermentation things, and we are making our own sauerkraut to produce our probiotics. So we really have to find ways to get off our medication. And even things like insulin ginger which can help with your sugar management, or knowing what to take to lower your blood pressure. All these things are what we need to have so that we will not be dependent on the pharmacy or the hospitals in the last days. Thank you so much, Lakanda, for a great presentation, valuable information. This is going to be recorded. I just want to go over once again before we close the announcements which we made at the beginning of the presentation. So first of all, this coming Sunday, we have a prophecy update, starts at 5 p.m. and that's on Zoom or live in person. And it's also live on our YouTube channel. Then you also have on Thursday, a Great Controversy Book Club, Thursday, 6 p.m., Zoom, YouTube, and live in person. Great Controversy Book Club. We have a Daniel study. We're going through the book of Daniel. We're on Daniel chapter 8. That's each Sabbath morning at 9:30, and that's live on our YouTube channel and live in person. And there's a Mangrove Cave camp meeting or country living experience camp meeting. Our brother Lakanda will be there, as well as John Dossett and the Ingrams and Neville Artwell. They'll be doing a wide variety of skills and presentations to teach you how to survive in the country. If you're in the London area, I'll be there May 15th to 17th for End Time Preparation Conference, and then I'll be attending the Scotland camp meeting May 21 to 25. And prior to that, the second week in May, I'll be doing in Northampton. And once we get the details, we'll make those available to you. Please remember our magazine. You can subscribe to this magazine, and which highlights various aspects of country living, and it's all on our website. So thank you for attending. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to our next country living update, which will be at the end of March. Invite your friends and family, as we just want to encourage people to make this step and to transition to the country living, because we will not survive in the city. With that being said, let us pray to close. Brother Lakanda, would you like to pray to close?
Sure, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to share. Thank you for those souls that have joined in. We ask that you will continuously give us an understanding and a learning in how to hear your voice first and foremost, and how to surrender to you daily, consecrate ourselves afresh to you. And Father, as we have seen and heard the warnings for years now, I pray that you will put it in the front of our minds to make the preparation, because people seeing us prepare is a witness. And so I ask that you will move our feet, move our hands as you move and guide our minds. Be with each one on this line, protect their families and keep them from the snares of the enemy. And we just appreciate your love for giving us so many warnings, so many notes of love. Thank you, God, as you keep your people through these final moments. And may we be able to hail you as Lord and King at the end. In Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Blessings,
evening.
everyone.
And we'll see you next time.